Okay, well, I don't think anything's going to change, and unfortunately the darker it gets, the harder this is going to be for us. So we'll sit here and we'll figure out what our plans are. Let's send you across to Brent, who has found, well, the fluffiest of all fluffy antelope.
So fluffy. And particularly when there's a baby involved, which there is. Looks like they've just come down to the edge of the Mara River for a drink, but the female is very cautiously approaching the river and making sure there's no dangerous crocodilians. Now, there are less crocodiles in this part of the river than around the crossings, but there are still definitely crocodiles. I know someone has seen a zebra taken by a crocodile at this very spot. I also think the river might be a little bit... Oh, sorry, I heard something. False alarm. I thought I heard some alarm calls a little bit upstream, but no such luck. There we go. She's going down to drink. This is a very popular drinking spot for lots of different animals. The zebra drink here frequently. The Thompsons, the topi. Trap says, I love their heart nose. Their noses are quite special, aren't they? And little one, are you also going to go drink? And you can see there's a little bit of rain starting. And little droplets all in the water, creating quite a pretty scene. Ooh. I can hear some birds on the other side. Sounded like a puffback shrike. Just having a look to see if we can spot it. Oh, we can hear the hippos. It is truly pleasant just taking a moment next to the river and listening to the sounds. So there's a big group of hippos. We can hear some weavers, dark-capped bulbul, rattling testicular. I am a red-eyed dove. I am a red-eyed dove. You can hear the doves calling. Let's see if we can get a view of these weavers and this acacia next to us. Hopefully they don't fly off when we reverse. I can just make him out hopping around in the tree. Top of this smaller acacia. It's very difficult to see. I just see a shot of yellow. So, and there we go. There you can just see it hopping. I can't see which weaver it is. I can hear the hippos again. Doesn't want to be on camera weaver. That's what type of weaver it is. And you can see those impressive thorns on the acacia xanthopelea. What do you spotted, Joe? Oh, the thorns. Yes, you don't want to be walking barefoot under one of these trees. Hippos think it's funny. Great jokers they are. Okay. I'm hoping we're not going to get wet, but we might. Got a bit of rain behind us and a bit of rain ahead of us, but it looks like those little bits of rain we were seeing have stopped. So we shall continue on. Unfortunately, no luck with Scar and the Paradise Pride today. Okay, well, we see if there's any other wonders to find in the Mara. Let's go all the way down south to Rolf.
So folks, just a little bit of an update. There was some impala alarm calling, and a couple of the game viewers spread out, and there's been some tracks picked up of a male leopard. So it could be Hosana, Tingana, Umvula, or any one of these male cats. So we are trying to help locate these animals, and it looks like they've headed towards the Galago lodge. So we're gonna be just looping around and just seeing if we can pick up on them on this animal. It seems he is walking around now during the day. The clouds are coming over a little bit, and it's been such a relief. Every day this has been happening when it's been scorching hot, and the clouds have come through a little bit, and it's just cooled things down nicely. So hopefully we're going to find this male leopard moving. Sorry for all the bumps. I'm on a little bit of a bumpy road here. Might get a little bit better a little bit further on, but it's one of those days. We've just started out. We found those elephants who were lovely, on the move, moving towards water. I know that you did then watch some lovely elephants with Tristan. Heavy Bear Toys asking the question, what is the most difficult part of my job? Well, that's a difficult question. There's not too much about my job that I find overly difficult. I do enjoy most of what I do. That's why I'm here. Yes, I must say that, working in the tourism industry, I think probably one of the most difficult parts of working with people is the people, because we have a lot of different nationalities. We have people from all over the world. We have people that sometimes don't quite see things the way we do. So it can be difficult. I think initially, especially as an inexperienced guide, that's probably one of the most difficult parts of the job to get over. I think later it has come easier to me, especially once I've traveled around the world, to Europe, and also having a lot of different people coming on the tours and staying in different lodges. I think you get to understand people a little bit better, but that is probably one of the most difficult parts, especially initially as a young guide. Once you get to know people better and the way that they generally operate, different nationalities, I think it then becomes a lot easier to handle. So yes, I think the animals are a lot easier to handle than people are. They're a lot more instinctive, I think, and they're not as emotional, I would say. So it's quite a bit easier to work with animals, but they don't talk as well, so it's a little bit easier to understand body language, etc. So yeah, quite a difficult thing to get your head around different nationalities. But eventually, as I say, it does become second nature, and you know that French people like certain things or things done in a certain way, especially around food and the table. Americans might like things differently, and the British, for instance, like things their way. So everybody likes their own little way. So yes, but it's not to say that anybody's way is the best. It's just that everybody around the world do things differently. So we're going to continue here along the road looking for this leopard, and I'll give you an update shortly. In the meantime, let's go over to Tristan and see what he's been up to.
Well, we just left Gauri Dam after spending some time watching all the different creatures coming down. There was some nyala, there was impalas, the giraffe were there, and we decided once they all started leaving that we would also take our leave of absence, and we're going to try and see if there's any sign of Tundi around Nyala Road South. Now, I know Scott and Ralph were out this morning, and they think that they found where she's been going up and down, and so I'm in the area just to have a little look. So far, nothing that I can see other than an Egyptian goose that seems fairly relaxed with life. It doesn't seem as though it's too upset about anything moving around in this particular section, so I don't know if she's been moving during the day today. Maybe she's at the den site wherever it is and just resting, or she's found herself a shady spot to rest. Either way, it's worth checking around here. I want to try and see if maybe she's moved the den, if we can try and pick up exactly where she's moved it to. I think that's going to be my mission over this next little work stint, is to try and find Tundi and the little ones. That at least the plan anyway. Whether it works out or not, I'm not quite sure. What is surprising with our Egyptian goose is that there is only one of them. I would have thought that we would have had a pair here. They generally are in pairs together. It's very seldom that you see one by itself. So maybe the other one is drifting somewhere at one of the other mud wallows, maybe a chelapan just across the drainage on the other side. So, Dead Tom, no, nobody's actually seen Tundi's cubs yet. No one's actually had any visual of them whatsoever, and that's why we're trying now quite intensively to start looking for her and to try and really see if we can find and confirm if there are cubs, how many cubs, what the situation is, how big they are, whether or not our timing in terms of what we think how old they are is correct. And so that's why we're going to put in concerted efforts over the next few weeks to try and find this and try and find exactly where she is. At the end of the day, something might have happened to them. You never know. Maybe she's not denning anymore, but the signs are that she still is. The way that she's moving about and going back and forward in similar areas to where she's been over the last, I would say, 6 weeks is an indication that she should be somewhere in this general vicinity and should still have cubs. We know that she did have suckle marks the other day. I did ask somebody, they said they saw suckle marks on her, so she must have them. It's just a question of whether they've survived and if they are still alive, indeed still alive. So we're going to try our very best and to see if we can find them. I am positive. I feel like we are going to find them shortly. Scott and I were talking about it today, that we would try and spend a lot of time outside of drives even to try and find her and see if we can spot her somewhere in these areas. Now, where I'm going now is a little pan that's not too far off from where Scott thinks that the den might be. Scott said this morning he had tracks, like I say, going up and down quite close to Battalier Road, so I want to just quickly check this waterhole and see if there is anything at the waterhole itself, which is just round this corner. There's some franklins, so that's not going to bode well for a leopard. Let's just check here quickly. So no, it looks as though it's all quite quiet around this little watery mud wallow. This is where I was talking about. It is a section I've seen her drink at a few times, so I thought I'd just come and check. But while I kind of scan, or not, I was going to say while I scan the bushes, we're going to go across to Jamie Patterson, but let's just check and make 100% sure first before we do any of that. Doesn't look like anything's here. The franklins are sort of walking around. They don't seem too ruffled by anything. They're not squawking or squeaking or making any noise. There's no other birds also making any noise, so I don't think there's any sign of her in this potential area right now. But we're going to continue the search, and hopefully we will have some luck at some point. And while we do that, it seems as though Jamie Patterson is having a far easier time of it and has managed to find what she's been looking for.
So, while Tristan goes off in search of Tundi's cubs, we have some cubs of our own. And they just were looking so sweet that I couldn't resist coming to have a closer look. Although I am going to turn around and go back towards the other lionesses shortly, because just as I left them, some zebras started moving down towards them. I'm just going to keep looking backwards. The reason I actually left, apart from the fact that the lion cubs are so cute, is because it started to rain. So I needed to put the back of the car towards, well, in the direction that the wind was blowing the rain in from. But we seem to be a great deal better off now. But it's still a nice moment to just stop and look at the lions in front of us. There was one off to the right, but I've lost it now. And where is it? Anyway, let's keep looking at the lions on the termite mound. Let me move my head out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I keep trying to do a head count to work out exactly how many are around, but it hasn't worked out so well. Ah, there's a voice I haven't heard properly in a while. Over the radio. Hello, James Hendry. No, you can go ahead, Megs. I just heard James chatting to me over the radio. He wasn't actually trying to chat to me. There is the fourth lioness moving up the termite mound. She's now responding to the movements of the lions behind us. So I think she now knows that there is a chance that her sisters could be successful, and we are going to turn around and move in that direction once she comes past us. But we do have a question from a new viewer about whether or not we ever worry that the animals are going to jump into the vehicle with us, or if they are in any way going to attack us, because obviously we're out here in an open vehicle. And the answer to that is no, absolutely not. We're in no way concerned for our safety. Obviously that we don't get blasé about the whole thing. They are wild animals and they are capable of injuring us. However, they have grown up around safari vehicles. They're not concerned by us at all. You can see they haven't altered their natural behavior at all. They haven't shown any signs of fear or aggression, and they don't see us as food either. So there's no reason for us to fear the animals that we see. We've also been doing this for many, many years, so we're constantly watching their behavior. And we're looking to see whether or not the lions are in any way uncomfortable, or any animal, actually. And we're constantly making judgment calls as to exactly where we want to be or what we want to be doing. Oh, 2 cubs on the left, just behind this lot, are busy having a little rough, or were having a rough and tumble. The cubs aren't very playful at the moment, I think because they are so hungry. But usually at this time of day you find that the cubs become particularly playful. There we go. That's called lazy wrestling. That's what's happening right there. That is lazy wrestling. The size of that one's paws. Plop on your head. Got your head. Now, Catherine, you say that you love this pride and that you find that the lionesses work so hard. And yes, they do. They do work very hard. I have a soft spot for this particular pride because it's the pride of lions that I started following from the very beginning. And when I first arrived here, the middle set of cubs were still very, very small, so I was the first person to see them, and I was lucky enough to be the first person to see the youngest set of cubs. And I have followed them for many, many, many hours overnight, back in the beginning. In fact, I probably have spent well over 100 hours with these lions. Would that be excessive? No, it wouldn't be. That would be about fair. Take down. Wrestling each other. I would say I've spent over 100 lions with these hours. Exactly. Totally. I do have a soft spot for them. I've seen them succeed and fail, succeed and fail. Look at your gorgeous face. Hannah, at around about 1.5 years will be the soonest that the cubs will really start to be able to participate in a meaningful way to the hunt, and it's only at around about 2.5 years old that they stop messing it up. So they will participate from now. So the older cubs are big enough and strong enough that the lionesses, in a situation where they've caught something like a buffalo calf or whatever it happens to be, if they don't think that the cubs will injure themselves, the cubs will be allowed to practice their hunting skills, practice their killing skills, actually, if I'm honest, because by then the hunt is over. So they have to learn, but they're still just a little bit too young. The eldest ones, I keep saying 8 months, but I think that's because I've lost track of time. I think the oldest ones are around about 9 months now, possibly even a little bit older. Obviously, I wasn't here for when those cubs were first born. Oh, have you ever seen such hungry-looking cubs? Ah, oh, Megs, I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear that name at all. Hampus. Hampus wants to know if lionesses raise their cubs on instinct, or do they remember how their mothers raised them, or perhaps have they observed how their aunts have raised their cousins? We don't know the answer to that, but I would say that the most likely answer, realistically, is that it's instinct. I mean, we don't remember things from our early childhood, and or from when we were babies, and I doubt that the cubs do either. And that instinct is so strong. Essentially all female animals out here, most female animals, have got such strong maternal instincts. And you see it in action from the minute the lionesses have their cubs, and you can see they do learn. I think that they do learn certain tricks of the trade, but you watch them with their first set of cubs, and you see this almost confusion on their faces as they stare at these little bawling creatures, as if to say, what on earth have I done? What are these? What am I meant to do with them? Why is it yowling? And then, of course, they know instinctively how to pick it up, how to feed it, when to introduce it to the pride, not to introduce it to the pride in the early stages. Those are all powerful instincts. Hey, beautiful. Yes, we're talking about you. That's the last of the females still. There's some really great free advertising right there. Behind the lion's head. Such pretty lionesses. What do you think, girl? I don't think you think this is a good effort, this hunt. I don't think you think it's going to succeed. But I can tell you that the cubs are eagerly awaiting a good result. In fact, it almost looks, they look like children waiting for their parents to come home with takeaway. Okay, we're going to sit this one out and spend more time with the Angamas. Let's go and find out where Brent is. Apparently he's bumbling about in the Mara.
I'm taking a very relaxed afternoon drive this afternoon. I'm hoping that I was feeling lucky, but nothing seems to be popping out for me today. But anyway, that's the way it goes. We are live from one of the most incredible places on earth, the Masai Mara National Reserve, and it is just quite nice to just take in the scenery. And I mean, it is absolutely stunning here. Gorgeous, I say, gorgeous. But yes, I'm hoping I will find some lions of my own. I'm checking very carefully that quite often the Mara River Pride pop up in this part of the park. What have we got there? Nothing. Hello, Benoli. Benoli's wondering where on earth have all the wildebeest disappeared to? Well, they have gone south. Well, not all of them. The wildebeest of the main section of the migration. Hi. No, not this way. Only that side.
What have you seen on that side?
Lions. But that was a long time ago. Yeah.
I saw you there.
Not me. I was off this morning. But yeah, so one of our cars was there.
We saw two cheetahs by the border.
Yes, the two border boys. Okay.
We saw two lions, male lions.
Very nice. Good safari.
Guys, you're the guys who have brought me to Mara by your post.
Oh, wonderful. Safari. Well, we're live right now.
Yeah.
So everyone's watching right now. We're broadcasting live across the world.
No, we are I follow your post on Facebook.
Perfect.
That's what has brought us here.
Well, great. I'm glad that it's brought you to the Mara, and it's a nice time of the year to be here.
There are very few animals. So.
There are plenty. You just got to look hard. Okay, guys. Well, have a good drive. Okay, sorry about that, folks. What was I talking about, Jahawi? Can you remember? Oh, where have all the wildebeest disappeared to? There we go. That was the question. Sorry about that. Got completely sidetracked there by lions and cheetahs and whatnot. But yes, so there's basically two major herds of wildebeest in this area. You have the main sort of the migration of wildebeest that travels between the Serengeti and the Masai Mara. There's about 1.5 million of them, and at this time of the year they've moved south towards the southern plains around Ndutu, where they will go give birth in about 2 months or so, and then they'll slowly start working their way back up, and they should be back in Kenya at the earliest end of June, normally July. However, we have about another 250,000 which are currently spread from around Musiara to Talek and into the conservancies. They are called the Loiter herd, and they do not leave Kenya. They traditionally migrate to the Loiter Hills, which is about 100 k's or so that way as the crow flies, and they give birth around there. However, last year quite a significant number of the Loiter herd did not make the journey to the hills, and they actually gave birth on the Paradise Plain in the Masai Mara. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they decide to hang about or head to Loiter this year. Now, one of the problems that's facing the Loiter herd, and one of the main reasons why they stayed in the Mara last year, is fences being put up for agriculture. So it is one of the biggest killers of large migrations and animal movements. And it's often not shooting or poaching, it is actually the fence that will stop it. Okay. Where is everything? Not even Ellie's out here today. I feel like some Ellies. I'm going to see if we can find some Ellies. And as I said earlier, I was really hoping to find some Ellies having a mud bath, and well, Tristan had the elephants mud bathing, so I'm a little bit jealous of him. But of course, you never know what's around the next corner on a live African safari. Oh, I think I've lost, there we go. I lost comms with Megan, but I've got it back. But let's go quickly back to Jamie and her lions.
Our lions that are posing so beautifully for us. This is such a rare and wonderful opportunity for us to see all of the Angamas together on a termite mound. It's just such a special image, or at least most of them anyway. So I might not yet have been able to do what I was expecting to be able to do. I thought at one point or another we'd get all of them walking from one spot to another. And I thought maybe we could do a quick calculation of how many males and females are here. It hasn't quite worked out that way because they haven't moved since I arrived. So I'm still keeping an eye on where the lionesses are. I can't see them at all anymore back on that slope. And unfortunately, as it gets dark, obviously it's going to be harder and harder for us to be able to see what they're doing. Our infrared lights won't reach there. So there's not all that much that we'll be able to do about it. Some big yawns coming from the cubs, some signs of moving. Quite a few of them giving each other a bit of a clean, or their own feet a bit of a clean. Oh. She looks so dejected. No need to look so dejected. So much riding on those lionesses' hunting efforts over the next few days. Hey, we're going to spend a bit more time with our puddle of lions and wait to see whether or not the cubs get up and perhaps even start playing. Let's send you back across to Rolf, who has had a truly special afternoon surrounded by elephants.
Okay, folks, we've been driving along the Wati River, and we've just come across a small group of elephants that are just enjoying themselves in this lovely, cool riverine vegetation next to the river, and they're feeding a little bit. There were two males that were just having a little bit of a sparring session, but they seem to have calmed down a bit now. So if these elephants start to come towards us, I will be moving out the way of them rather quickly, and you can see them now. They're starting to spar off again. I'm just keeping my eye on them because as they make their way down towards us, I don't want to be getting in their way. They're in a little bit of a boisterous mood, and sometimes when one can be pushed around a little bit, they can start to take it out on you. So I'm not going to let them get too close to me, but if they stay in that general area, then we should be alright. And there are just starting to be a little bit more elephants popping up around the area, so just moving back slightly, folks, because we are in a little bit closer and I don't want to get involved in their little scuffle. But quite nice to see them facing off like that. The bulls do sort of have this play fighting, and it is a couple of youngsters that are fighting like that. They've moved into the thicket a bit, but this is all very important for later in life when they do become very big males, and they can literally fight to the death. So it's important for them to learn that sparring techniques now, and it's all in the name of for the real life situations a bit later. Generally when they're a little bit younger like this, they're just pushing and shoving each other around like older teenagers would, a bit of arm wrestling and a bit of fun. So it's not a life and death situation at present, but they can be a little bit boisterous, and with them being so big, if they do make their way towards us, we do need to be a little bit careful, because we're probably a small-sized elephant with the vehicle and everything involved here. So it's just important just to give them their space. That's all. Now there's a little young bull here. I think I'm having the feeling that it's a small group of males. I haven't had a chance to positively do a male and female decision yet, but those two that were playing, they're definitely males, and there they're having another go at each other. It's nice to see them. Some are relaxed, some are pushing each other around, and it's been absolutely fascinating that so many more elephants have moved into the area. And Strawhead making the comment, some power struggles going on there. I definitely agree with you, Strawhead. And there's a few of them, they're moving towards us nicely a little bit. That's a young teenager. He's a lot younger than the rest, so probably wouldn't get involved in the scuffle because he's a little bit too young for that. But he's also witnessing it and also realizing that that's what boys do. So learning, even if he's not partaking. And you can see with the flapping of the ears, that's all down to this nice heat that we've got. Right, folks, we're just going to jump over to Tristan, who's got Hosana for you.
We do indeed. We've managed to come down to Twin Dams, and there you can see him just striding. He's crossing over into Little Gari, so we're not going to be able to have him for very long at all, but he's going down towards Baboon Pan. Hopefully he's going to have a little bit of a drink. You can see the impalas are shouting at him at the moment, making quite a bit of noise, telling him that they've seen him. And you'll see impalas will actually run closer towards him like that when they shout at him, just to try and keep him in sight and keep him in view. And you would think that that distance would be really, really close and that this impala would be in a lot of danger, but they are well aware of how fast he is, and they are much more fleet-footed over that distance, and they can get away much quicker than he can get to them. But you see, he is scent marking, so for all of you that have been asking whether or not Hosana has been scent marking, that is a typical scent marking maneuver. First to rub the face, the glands on the face will then cause this animal to secrete from there, and that will be a marking. And then he lifts his tail and he sprays urine to be able to scent in that area as well. Now I'm going to go forward just a little bit because it looks like he might drink, and if he drinks then we can at least see him drinking. I also just want to get off the main road because otherwise we're going to cause a bit of a traffic jam, but it seems as though he's going in towards the water hole. Lara, you say you love that curled tail. It is the best thing, and it is something that we use a lot to spot leopards. When they curl that tail, you can see how that white really contrasts. The rest of his body blends in incredibly well, but when he sticks that tail up and is that white contrasting bit, it's quite easy to spot them. But it is the best thing when they're getting shouted at. They lift it up as almost like a white flag to say, I'm not hunting you, leave me alone, stop shouting. And I was kind of hoping for a second there when these impalas started to shout at him that it was going to push him back northwards, but unfortunately it seems as though he's going to meander his way straight south and off into Little Gowrie, unfortunately. So he was on our side. He must have been around Twin Dams just having a rest during the day today, and he's then decided to move off. What's he found there? He looks as though he's gone into the bush. What's he got? Maybe he's found a little tortoise or a terrapin. Nope. Sharon, you say it's nice to see the beginning of his dewlap. Most certainly, Sharon. It's definitely starting to drop quite a bit now. You're starting to see a little bit of that fold of skin kind of coming out, and it's looking a lot more like a male leopard and a lot less cub-like as the days go on, and he's growing every single day. You can see he's also got a nice full belly. He's been taking advantage of the lambing season with the impalas and has really gone after quite a few different lambs. There's that tail up again, marking territory once again. There he's just looking as the car goes past. I apologize about the vehicles. Unfortunately, where we are, we can't really position ourselves any differently than what we have already, and our view of him is about to disappear in the next few seconds as he just goes behind a little bank. Once he goes behind there, unfortunately, there's very little we can do to keep him. I'm just going to try go forward a bit, or maybe back for you, Ferg. There we go. Let's see if we can just keep a view of him a little bit longer as he meanders southwards, because he is moving straight off in a southerly direction, which is not ideal. But we were still on our Tundi search, and we were just checking the Mulawati when we heard some impalas alarm calling, and we were told that there were impalas alarm calling close to this area, so we came to just investigate, and I'm glad we did. I thought maybe Tundi could be moving around. At the end of the day, she's in a situation where she would be looking for water and potentially maybe even hunting and moving from the areas where they had tracks of her this morning, and I thought maybe she might be down at Twin Dams. We know she does come down here every now and then, but very pleasant surprise to see the young prince. He's always a welcome sight in our area, but I think, like I say, that is the last view we're going to get of him as he just disappears. And watch that camouflage as he goes behind these bushes, completely disappears in the space of 2 or 3 seconds. It is so good to see leopards again, and particularly Hosana. It's wonderful when you get back and you see all these characters again and you get to kind of sit with them. And I know this has not been a very long sighting, but it's always very pleasant when we get to see them. So, very nice. Right, well, I'm going to carry on trying to look for Tundi in this area since I'm down here, and maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe Hosana will come back north. We'll just keep an ear out. While we do that, let's go back across to Jamie, who's still sitting with the beautiful Angama pride.
I would have been very surprised if Tristan wandered away from just having got back from leave and hadn't found a leopard. I definitely would have been, I would have been shocked, to say the least. So our beautiful lion cubs are still posing beautifully for us, and not only that, we're even more privileged because one of them has chosen to come and sit right next to our vehicle. Hey girl. Beautiful cat. Yes. So she's right up next to us. She went to go and investigate exactly what the other 3 lionesses have gone off to do. And to provide an extra layer of entertainment, there's a vehicle that drove into a hole and is now stuck. So we've got all sorts of things happening here in this particular sighting. I keep checking behind me just to make sure that the adults haven't launched themselves after dinner yet. I haven't seen any sign of movement, and the zebra and the wildebeest are still looking very calm. Nothing's happened or nothing's changed yet. Still waiting. Still hoping for dinner. I think what you'll probably find in this particular area is that the lions are going to have to wait until night falls. Oh, get the fly! I would say that without any kind of cover, they're going to have to wait for the cover of darkness. And it is getting towards full moon as well, which means that it's going to be even harder for them. During full moon nights is when the lions probably have their lowest success rate of hunting at night. Dr. Nub, we actually spoke about this question this morning, funnily enough. Dr. Nub is wondering about how long a lion can last without eating. And obviously it depends on the condition that the lion's in. It depends on if it's a tiny lion or an older lion. But for a healthy adult lion, I would say that they could probably go around about 3 weeks, possibly even more. But of course there is a very firm cutoff point, because when they can't, although maybe within a pride they'll be okay, but when they can't hunt for themselves, and when they don't have the energy to hunt for themselves, then even though they could survive for a little bit longer, they're not going to survive, if that makes any sense, because it's a tough world out here. And for a lion with a broken leg or whatever else it happens to be, I have seen lion prides feed injured members before. They don't drag the carcass to them or anything like that, and they certainly don't regurgitate like wild dogs do. But what they do, essentially the injured lion drags itself after the rest of the pride, and then they allow it to feed with them. So it is something that does happen. Mom back yet? She brought us dinner. What are those tufts of hair sticking out of the side of your ears there? They look ridiculous. You look like you've had a really funny haircut. Is it just my imagination? Does anyone else see that on that lion cub? On the left? Those two little tufts of hair? It's just because they're so symmetrical as well. It's hilarious. What is all of this hullabaloo, huh, guys? Oh, here comes one of the cubs, the cub that was next to us. Let's just have a look at her quickly, because I want to show you what I meant about the cubs looking a little lanky. They are looking a little lanky, are they not? She definitely does. Okay, as our young lioness settles down back on the termite mound, let's go and see whether or not Brent is still driving about the Mara and what he's searching for.
I am. I'm not sure what I'm searching for. At this very moment, I'm searching for anything, because there is not a heartbeat around me. There's not even a timid topee in sight. But we do have a breathtaking view, which I'm going to show you. I'm just going to get into the right spot, line up a lovely shepherd's tree. Ah, there we go. How's that? And we can do a little listen to see what we can hear again. I can hear some pectoral patch testiculars. I can also hear yellow-throated longclaw. And there was a bit earlier a red-winged francolin calling as well. And a cricket. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, now Omka was wondering, since there is a policy of human intervention in the Masai Mara, would the park feed the animals during a drought? To be honest, I don't know. No, Jawi says not. And Jawi has been in the Mara a lot longer than us, so I'm definitely going to say, stick with Jawi, so no. So, and again, it seems to be that the lions, the leopards, and the cheetahs, and elephants, rhino, are pretty much what they will use veterinary service on. I can't see them, for example, using the vet on the zebra we saw today. But I'm not sure. No, I didn't think so. But yes. Now, on the other hand, if that wound was from a snare, I think definitely then they would get involved. It's quite an interesting one. And, I mean, everywhere is different, and I'm sure they have their reasons. I tend to lean far more to the side of let nature be nature. I mean, hypothetically, for example, you keep fixing male lions, they stay at the head of the pride longer than they should and start mating with their daughters, and that affects the genetics of the whole population, even though that particular individual might be spectacular or special. But he's only one lion, and you can't look after one lion or two lions. You need to look after the whole population. The health of a population is far more important than one individual in that population. Probably getting into trouble for saying that, but anyway, well, it's what I believe. This is my opinion. Oh, exciting times. It sounds like Jamie's lions have woken up and are on the move.
That's 2 males, 3 males. My lions are indeed awake. That's 3 males. And we've got... Okay, so 3 males. Let's just count the males. There was a female. We've got... Hey, you're in my way. Move. 4 males. 5, 6 males, 7 males. It's a lot of males. Possibly even 8. I couldn't get the last one. So in that group that just walked past me, there was 8 males. I still haven't counted, obviously I haven't counted the lioness, but I still haven't counted these 2, which looks like 9 male, a 9th male. And then, little one at the back, what are you? You look like a female. Or are there little testicles under that tail? I can't tell. It's harder to look when they're a bit younger. So what did I just say? Did I say 9 males? That I confirmed. That's crazy. There's so many males. 9 out of 13. I thought there were a lot of males in that group. But my goodness, if I've got that count right, that's a lot of males of the same age. If I've got that count right, then the Angama pride, provided all cubs survive, will only have 4 females added to their number when these cubs grow up, and then 9 young males will have to disperse, if they all survive, of course. And they probably won't all disperse in one group. 9 is I mean, I could stand corrected on that. Who knows how it will play out. But 9 is not a very sustainable number. I'm just going to... Forgive me, youngsters. I'm going to examine closely beneath your tail with a pair of binoculars. You're definitely a boy. That much we know. I'm pretty sure that last one was a female. Todd, you want to know why some of them have spots on their legs like a leopard. All lions have spots when they're born. It's to help to camouflage them. And as they grow up, those spots slowly fade. But most lions will never lose them altogether. So if you look at the adult female, it's a bit tricky to see. But she's going to get up and accompany the rest of the cubs now. If you look at her, she's got spots on her legs and her belly still as well. No wonder you haven't bothered all that much this whole time. Did you get the biggest piglet by any chance? Yes. Yes, you did. You're not nearly as hungry as everyone else. Somebody lucked out today. Lucked out on lunch. Is this the lioness with a limp? I just want to see if that's not why she's also stayed behind. I didn't notice any of them limping today, this morning, but I did the last time I saw them. So this morning they all seemed fine. But I just want to check and see if she isn't the one that I saw limping about a bit earlier. I wonder, can you imagine? 9 male lions. No, they won't stay. I doubt they will stay together. Generally speaking, when that does happen, and of course it does happen with certain prides. Oh, she's walking now. No, she's fine. Little bit of a stiff walk, but nothing serious. Generally, when that does happen, when you get groups of 9 males like that, if I've got that count right, which I think I did, then you'll have a situation where they'll move off in a group of 4 and 5. Or 3 and 6, but probably 4 and 5. Marsh, you want to know, sorry, I'm having a chuckle because I'm thinking about lions with table manners. You want to know if they catch a large zebra, will they share nicely? Not in the state they're in at the moment, no. I'm just going to wait. I actually can't turn on the vehicle yet until she's a bit further past us, otherwise we're going to give her a fright. No, not in the state that they're in. They're hungry. They're really, really hungry. If they're full and there's plenty of food to go around, then you'll find that the growling and the snapping at each other is kept to a minimum. But when they're really hungry like this, it's a bun fight, essentially, for who gets what piece of the meal. By the way, in the continuing saga of the guy who drove into the hole, his bumper just came off while they were trying to tow him. Poor guy. Okay, just going to catch up a little bit to these lions, see what they get up to. Let's send you over back across to South Africa. You've already seen a waterbuck here in the Masai Mara. Go and have a look at one in South Africa.
Yes, folks, we're right near Twin Dams, and we've just come across some of these female waterbuck. A lovely, nice view of them, swishing their tails around, keeping the flies at bay. Obviously, remember that the females don't have horns and very easily identifiable with this lovely shaggy coat. They are right near the water, and you won't generally find them more than 5 to 10 kilometers away from water, and that's actually quite far. They're generally within 5 kilometers of water, but it all depends on how far they need to go for the grazing. Now, it should be time for them to start dropping their young quite soon, and the predators will be having an opportunity to change their diet a little bit, because they've been filling their boots on the little impala, and now I'm sure that they will be moving across to some of the wildebeest, zebra and waterbuck youngsters in the near future, because they'll also be dropping quite soon. So it's just lovely to see them feeding here. And remember, the waterbuck, once they do give birth, they've got a tactic where they actually leave a lot of their young in a creche with younger females. Pisces Bobby making the comment, they are just beautiful. I agree, absolutely. And especially with that toilet seat ring on their bottom, it's like really a game of pin the tail on the donkey. Except the tail is right in the correct place. So one of those hot afternoons coming down towards later afternoon, starting to cool down, and things are slowly starting to happen. A little bit more movement all round from the antelope, from the predators. I hear that you did have a little sneaky peek of Hosana before he left the property with Tristan, so that's fantastic news. and we're going to go on our way towards Chitwa Dam. So we're going to be heading along this way. We're not quite sure if we're going to have signal in that area. There are a little bit of gremlins around there today, so I'm not going to set you up for us not going there, because it's not for sure. So we're going to head that way and we see what happens. But there has been a lot of movement of the leopard in that particular area in the last few days. So I do want to just cover that area. And if we don't come right, there has been talk of some lions in the Buffels Hook area. So we've got a little bit of a plan around that, heading towards Chitwa and then maybe towards Buffels Hook. And in the meantime, we will also be listening out for all the other guides if anybody else hears anything. So let's start up. Let's carry on down the road while we move past these waterbuck, who are quite just moving. Okay, folks, while I need to search for any of these big cats, Jamie has still got some of those big cats, and I'm sure she's got lots to tell you about them.
I would love to tell you more about them. I can tell you that the lionesses must have attempted a hunt at some point a little bit earlier, because all of the zebra and impala that were gathered round there have scattered. I think that's why actually the cubs got up and they moved in the direction of the adults. They heard the running. Now it's quite a cold day today, and I promised Taylor I'd look after Maurice for her. So Maurice is both acting as a scarf and also tucked up nice and warm in my jacket. I can make sure that he's fine. I've been sending Taylor pictures of him throughout the course of the drive. Maurice looking at lions, Maurice looking through binoculars. Julia, very good, very, very valid point, because of course the fact that we are able to enjoy the animals like this means that it's a privilege not to be abused in any way. Now, Julia is wondering how close are the vehicles allowed to get to the animals. There is a Mara ranger here, and there always is at a busy sighting to make sure that all rules are obeyed. And you're looking at, if I remember correctly, a distance of 30 meters at absolute minimum. If I remember if that was the case. And we always gauge exactly how close we're going to go. Obviously there's situations where you can't help it. If an animal chooses to come and walk right next to you and lie down next to you, that's not your, that really, it's nobody's fault, and you can do more damage in terms of upsetting the animal by then moving than you have by allowing them to walk in your direction. So as long as you're not allowing them to break that personal... why am I spoonerizing everything today? Break that personal space barrier, then you're absolutely fine. So you don't ever let them touch the vehicle. I can't show you, unfortunately, because we'd be terribly against the rules. But the situation unfolding to my left now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vehicles, plus the guy who's stuck. Hey, he's out! And a ranger, and some slightly lost tourists. It's hilarious. I can't show you, unfortunately. Okay, so another exciting, it's never a dull day in the Masai Mara, but it is time for the Mara team to say a farewell. So we'll send you back across to my friend back in South Africa, Tristan, who has continued his luck and found you some elephants.
I have indeed. It's been a lucky afternoon. We've just literally bumped into animal after animal after animal. It's been quite pleasant, actually. I've thoroughly enjoyed being back in Djuma and having a delightful time of just really not having to work too hard for anything this afternoon. So it seems as though the Ellies are back in full force. Almost every road I've driven has got some sort of sign, track, dung, indication of an elephant somewhere, and now we've bumped into another large herd that is slowly but surely moving kind of in a southeasterly direction. And so if Ralph is going to head towards Chitwa Dam, I wouldn't be surprised that this herd makes an appearance at Chitwa Dam around sunset. That's the kind of direction that they're taking at the moment, and it's a beautiful big herd once again. We've got lots and lots of cows. They spread out all through this thicket, and so it's difficult to actually see all of them. Now you might notice something flying around in front of the lens. We've got a whole bunch of insects that are giving Ferg a hard time. Hold on, Ferg, let's get rid of those for you. There we go. Now they should hopefully be all gone, but we call them muggies here in South Africa. But they are just different types of small insects that fly around. So a lot of those will be biting flies. Often find them flying around in the accompaniment of animals. So they are attracted to the animals, and you find them kind of moving where they are. And they often then congregate around people and particularly lenses for some reason. I don't know what the reason is, but you'll often find camera lenses, they attract them, and even screens of TVs or computers. You find that they flock towards that area. I'd actually love to know why it is. There must be a reason for it. Maybe there's some sort of reflection or something that they like. But anyway, I mean, the ellies are slowly but surely moving along, and like I say, it's quite difficult to judge how many there actually are here, because everywhere I look, they're kind of ones that are appearing like ghosts out of these thickets. It's difficult to see them, and you see that's quite dense to our western side at the moment, but there's another one in the background there. There's one behind us at the moment. I've seen some that are already to our east as well. So it seems as though it's a fairly decent grouping, and they slowly but surely are going to make their way towards Chitwa, I think, for a bit of a drink. Now you can see there's a beautiful sunset that is developing. I think we're going to have a wonderful sunset later, because those clouds are going to just get beautiful colors as the sun gets down a little bit lower. So Shelley, the elephants will give birth year-round. They're not seasonal breeders like the impalas are. These guys give birth at any stage of the year, and so you'll find that whether it's winter, summer, autumn, spring, they all are around, and they are little babies at all of those stages. So it's just at any stage. And the reason why that is because elephants, generally being mixed feeders, they're able to find nutrition in even the most harshest of conditions, as well as the fact that the little ones suckle for such a long period of time. So they suckle for over 2 years, and that means that these little ones are able to get nutrients even when it's quite tough. And as they grow older, then they become adults. The mothers are able to find nutrients even in the dead of winter by going and digging for roots and for bark, and they'll know where there's areas to get food in the winter months, and they can sustain that milk and still be able to feed the little ones. So even though the mothers go through a tough time, they're still able to produce milk and to be able to feed the babies when they're still young and developing. Once they get over that sort of 3-year-old threshold, they're able to feed themselves, and they'll learn from the mothers and from the other herd members, and they'll be able to then find the food that they need and the nutrients that they need. You can see a little young male there, showing everybody that he is a boy. Thank you for that. Got a long way to go, though, before you intimidate too many others. I'll say that. Let's try and just catch up a little bit with them. So take care. You're wondering where the tusk goes into the lip. There's a little covering of skin that's over that top part. Is that part of the lip? Yes, it is. So what's basically happened is those are modified in sizes. So they start in the jaw and in the bone structure, and they then start to come out, and there's a lip that goes over it. So when they lift their trunk, actually, if you ever get to see an elephant with its trunk up in the air and its mouth open, you'll see the tusk come out from the mouth, and that skin on the sides is just over the top of it. It actually doesn't cover the tusk all the way around, it's just on top. Right. Now we're going to sit, I think, a little longer with our ellies, because why not? It's such a wonderful creature to spend a lot of time with, and I'm thoroughly enjoying being in amongst them. And I believe Ralph has found the best thing to see, and that is ellies going for a little swim.
Yes, folks, and we've got these ellies here going for a lovely swim in the heat of the day. Wow, absolutely awesome to watch. The youngsters all playing, they've had a fabulous time. It's heading towards the holiday season, and it looks like the elephants are in the holiday spirit as well. And up in front, they've been chasing off the Egyptian geese. And it's been a lovely little sighting this with these individuals. They might go back in the water. Throwing logs out the way, strutting his stuff. I don't know if that is a male or female. I haven't looked at that closely. It is a female. She doesn't look in the best of moods, so I'm just going to move a little bit out of their way here, folks. They are making their way towards us. So a little bit in the way all. Once again, once elephants show that they're in a bit of a boisterous mood, you don't want to get in their way, and the idea is for us not to be changing their behavior in any way whatsoever. So we don't want to be in their way, especially when you can sort of see that they're coming in your general direction. Okay, now they've turned a little bit, so I'm just going to turn a little bit more out of their way as well. You see how they're reacting towards the Egyptian geese. We don't want them to act the same way with us. They are coming our way. They're continuing to come our way, so I'm just going to back up a little bit. As you can see, they're in a very boisterous mood, starting to throw some sand over themselves, so they might stop, but it's just a bit of a wall of elephants coming our way, and we don't want to tempt fate. So just give them their space, their right of way, and we should be fine. So, and the hippos off to the right of these elephants as they make their way towards us have also been having a little bit of a argy-bargy. So everybody's been having a little bit of a confrontational day. And I'm not really in the mood to confront either of them, hippos or elephants. So they can by all means make their way in whatever direction they want. I will give them the right of way. And they've just come out and they've started throwing dust over themselves, stopped now and starting to feed a little bit on these plants. It almost looks like it's these devil thorns, but I'll have a look now in a minute. These yellow flowers, it's pioneer plants all over this disturbed area. And they've got, it's quite green foliage on them with yellow flowers. And in a minute I'm just going to check what they are. See, there is a couple of young bull elephants in the group. I'll just keep my eye on them. There's no real big bulls here. They are making their way across, and as I've said, folks, if they start making their way towards me, you know, sometimes the youngsters can be a little bit boisterous, and then they obviously bring the adults with them. Now look at that, there's a bit of an interaction there between the elephant and the hippos. That young bull didn't really like those hippos being too close to him. Okay, Mummy. Don't mean any harm, and we're well out of your way. Thank you very much. That's fantastic as they all march past us. Sometimes they can just have a bit of a look at you, just to check that you don't mean any danger, and off they continue. Now they've headed off round the side, while these hippos now start to display. Wow, look at that. So hippos generally, when the elephants are making a bit of a noise behind us. I don't know if you heard that. A little bit of a trumpet. I don't know if that was the matriarch, which was the biggest of the elephants there, that female, or if it was that young male who was being a bit boisterous towards the hippos. But the hippos, when they open their mouth, like we saw that one, I think we caught the end of it as I don't know if it's a male or female there, but they will both do it. They open their mouths almost like a big yawn. That's more of a dominance display or a bit of an aggression towards each other. They're showing each other how wide their mouths can open or how big their gape is. And the one who's got the biggest mouth and the biggest gape is normally the one that lands up being the dominant one. If they don't back down, just from the sight of it, they can then land up fighting, which I think might have happened to that mommy with the little youngster, because she had that wounds on her back a couple of days ago, and it seemed like it had been caused by another hippo. So she might have been in a small altercation. I'm looking, there is a number of birds flying overhead. Looks like it could be martins. I'm just checking. No, it's swifts. I'm not quite sure exactly which ones. I'm just trying to see nice and closely, but they move so fast. I'm just going to check in my book. Swifts moving through, and there's hundreds of them. I'm just checking in my book a little bit just to see which of the swifts we are looking at. It looks like it could be, you know, they all looked black to me, but I'm not quite sure. The African black swift, very common in the area. I don't know, it's quite difficult, folks, to see. They're obviously all little black dots there, and a whole host of them. Could be little swifts or black swifts. African palm swifts a little bit more rare. And they're quite interesting because the palm swifts, I mean, and I'm not by any means saying that these are them, but the palm swifts are quite ingenious because they literally stick their eggs on the inside of palm leaves and they hang. And the babies, when they hatch, they literally immediately hang as well. So a friend of mine was actually looking after a couple of little baby swifts, and I got to see how they actually hang. Even from that tiny little chick stage, even in captivity, you just put a stick over a box and the little swifts will hang upside down from the stick. So they are totally dependent on hanging for when they rest. Otherwise they maintain flight and staying on the wing. They eat on the wing and they do most things on the wing. They even drink, and that's what they're doing. They were doing it a minute ago. A lot of them were swooping down and just taking a little drink. And they do have quite a special hinge on the bottom part of their jaw, which enables them to drink at speed like that, because you can imagine the force of it as they scoop that water. If it wasn't able to hinge, they would literally snap that bottom part of the jaw off. So quite important for them to be able to shift that, and it's obviously be able to do the little scoop. Okay, folks, we're going to start up and move along the dam wall of Chitwa Dam, and then we're going to go round towards the airstrip, and it's getting that time of day when the leopards are starting to move around, and there has been some in that area. We're in the area that I did see Hosana yesterday evening, so we're going to now go and look for some other ones. Maybe we can find Tamba. Apparently he has been in the area too. Never know. Let's go and have a look. So starting up here, and we're just going to go in the same direction that those elephants walked. Alright folks, we're losing signal, so let's cut back to Tristan and see what he is up to.
Now, I believe Ralph has had a beautiful time at Chitwa Dam, and it is the best time to be there, and as is it where we are. The sun is just getting to that time of the day where it becomes golden in color, and with the clouds that we've got at the moment, the clouds are just filtering it out and making the light a lot softer than what it actually appears. And with the bit of green that we've got after the rains, it really is a beautiful scene, just watching these elephants that are taking on a more yellow-orange color now because of the light as they go through these thickets and just feed slowly on their way towards the east. It's been amazing just to sit here because we've sat in relative silence, and just hear them feeding and moving all around you is just one of the most wonderful and special things in the world. So Kathy from Ohio, you're wondering if I've seen my girl Fang yet? No, I haven't. There's a couple girls that I need to catch up with in the next few days, and Fang is most definitely one of them. I know everyone was super relieved to hear that she was back at Djuma, and it was a matter of time. I know a lot of people thought that maybe we didn't have any information and that maybe something had happened to her, but an individual that sort of well recognized with a tusk that shape and the size that she was, she would have been sighted somewhere in terms of if she had died. So somebody would have found her. We would have heard of a big elephant carcass with that fang or that tusk that grows backwards, and it would have been easy to kind of follow where she would have been. So I wasn't too concerned. It just took a lot longer for her to come back than I initially thought. So I'm super happy that she's back in this area. I don't know, I know James saw her, but I haven't seen the footage. And I know that Rolf saw her this afternoon. But what I saw one or two photographs, and what surprised me is it looks as though she was on her own. Now, Fang generally was always in a very large herd, so it'll be interesting just to see if she is part of all these groups of elephants that have arrived at Djuma. I'm absolutely shocked at how many elephants we've seen this afternoon. Literally, we've seen elephants absolutely everywhere. It's been come around the road, and they're there. Not that I'm complaining. It's the best thing in the world to have lots of ellies around. I was saying to Ferg, when we have elephants, we seem to have lots of leopard as well, and so maybe that recipe will carry on for the next couple of weeks. It's a great recipe to have. There's nothing better than both of those animals, for me anyway. I like to spend time with both of those kind of species, and so it's really good to come back to a lot of them, and I hope that I'll catch up with Fang fairly shortly. And the other female or lady that I would like to catch up with fairly soon is Tundi. So the two of them, that will be my mission over the next few weeks, is to try and find those two individuals and spend as much time as I can with both of them. I absolutely love Fang and the herd that she was a part of. It was an amazing experience to be there when that whole sort of scenario played out. Rihanna, you're wondering if elephants will ever eat bones, and I think you said birds, etc. So not that I've ever seen. They do pick up bones from time to time, so you will see them going past a carcass and they'll pick it up with their trunk, and sometimes they'll even put it towards their mouth, but it's not very common at all, and that's generally if it's an elephant carcass. I haven't seen them doing it with anything else. I've seen them walk right past buffalo skeletons, I've seen them walk past impala skulls, all those kind of things, but it seems as though when they get to a point where they have another elephant, that's to pick it up and they put it towards their mouth. I don't think they actually gain any nutrients from it like something like a giraffe would when giraffe practices osteophagia, when they put bones in their mouth and they suck on them and to gain calcium content. I don't think it's the same with the ellies. I think it's more of a intrigue, and they're trying to work out if there's maybe some sort of a scent or something that they can use to figure out what went on there. I've seen it only with other elephants' skeletons, and down near Chitwa, there's an area as you go towards the airstrip. If you're coming from the dam side on the eastern side of the lodge, there was an elephant that died there, and that elephant decomposed over the months, and it was absolutely fascinating to watch the elephants coming past that skeleton and that carcass, and the amount of touching and maneuvering of those bones that took place was absolutely phenomenal. But anyway, we're going to probably sit a little longer with our ellies. The light is just getting better and better, and we've got such a beautiful view of the sunset that's about to happen. But I believe Ralph has got a bird, so before it flies away, let's go across to him and see the majestic beauty of Africa.
Thanks, Tristan. Absolutely, we do have a wonderfully beautiful bird, and a very iconic and special bird as well, the African fish eagle, and he's just sat down on the edge of the dam wall, and he's looking like he wants to catch some fish. So we've just stopped here and we want to see if he is potentially eyeing up some prey in the water. He's looking in the direction of the hippos as well, but there might be some fish moving in the area because he's looking very intently. So there is a possibility that he takes to the wing and stretches out those talons and grabs a fish on his way through, but we'll just have to sit and wait. Maybe he's just wanting to go down for a drink. That's also possible. Predators are always looking like they want to chase prey. He's just doing a little bit of feather maintenance there, shifting his feathers around, running his bill through them as well. It's important for birds constantly to be maintaining their feathers. And they usually molt up to 3 times a year, so they get a whole new set of feathers, but they do work their way through. They're not dropping all the feathers all at once. As you could imagine, it would make flying a little bit difficult and make them look rather naked. And just behind him, a double-banded plover just ran off, and he needs to be careful as well, because this fish eagle will not only eat fish, they do eat birds as well. They'll eat reptiles. I've seen them eating monitor lizards and maybe even baby crocodiles. So they will eat all sorts, not only fish. And in some places they hardly eat fish at all. It all depends on their environment. But you don't always find them eating fish. It's just very iconic and beautiful and amazing to watch when they do actually go fishing. Stretching those talons out and grabbing the fish out the water. But it needs to be quite a specialized bit of hunting, that, because the fish need to be right near to the surface when he's able to do that. So, and he needs to be able to see them for a prolonged period on the surface too. And Byron making a lovely comment, one of the Wild Earth presenters, saying that it looks like a beautiful afternoon on Djuma. Absolutely, Byron. It's a fantastic day. It's been lovely and hot, but we've had lots of movement of elephants, and hopefully we're going to see a little bit more of the leopards as well as the sun starts dipping. Tristan did see Hosana, if you didn't see that. Now, folks, I'm in a little bit of two minds, because I don't know if I should be starting up and moving towards this fish eagle, because I think I might disturb him. So we might have to just sit and wait a little bit and see what he's going to do, because I'd hate to change the behavior of him unnecessarily. And if we do change of place, we might actually miss this bird flying down and attempting a catch. Okay, so we're going to continue sitting here, and hopefully we see this fish eagle take to flight and do a bit of hunting. But in the meantime, let's go over to Tristan, who's got a little creepy crawly to show you.
I do indeed. I have a very pretty beetle that is just sitting and enjoying the afternoon sunshine as much as we are, but I can't seem to figure out exactly what it is. The angle that we've got is not that ideal in terms of what the beetle looks like. I've just got its back end with its legs. It's almost got a very rounded back to it. Now, I know that we do get milkweed leaf beetles that have a greenish coppery tinge to the back, which it could be. The shape is right for that. It's not one of the emerald dung beetles that we get. They are a lot different in terms of the shape of the actual beetle itself. Now, I'm just trying to look through my beetle book, or not my beetle book, but my book of insects, should I say, because maybe, just maybe, the answer lies somewhere in there. I also thought maybe it was a jewel beetle, but it's not that. It doesn't have the right sort of look for a jewel beetle, so I'm not 100% sure what it is. Maybe some of you out there might know what it is, although it does look dung beetle-ish now that it's turning a little bit, doesn't it? So let's try and have a little look quickly, because there is an emerald coloured dung beetle that we get here, and there it is. Small green dung beetle is what its name looks like, but now I can't see the head nicely to see. But this is what we're talking about, is this little guy over here. It's got that right kind of shape, although the back legs seem a little short on this particular beetle. Maybe I'll have to go and have a little look, but it's the right coloration. It's got this emerald kind of color, and it's much like any of the other dung beetles. You see them out and about. And I recently was in a park not too far from Johannesburg in the northwestern province of South Africa, and these guys were absolutely everywhere. The green dung beetles and the small green dung beetles, they were all over it. And so it might be one of those, but it just doesn't seem like the right shape. Although I see it's turning its face towards us now. Hold on, let's see. Maybe we can try and reposition ourselves so I can actually see what the head looks like. It might help in our identification of our beetle. Now, I know it's just a little beetle and these things don't seem that important, but I love trying to ID these little things and try and work out exactly what these beetles are. There we go. You see it's come out onto the open, so it's actually sitting. Ferg, you need a hand with that, so you should be able to get it up a little bit, Ferg. There we go. Straight in, and then just to your left. There we go. So now it's come out onto the edge there. Now it's not a dung beetle, that's for sure. It's got a different head, does it? Is it a dung beetle? I don't know. It looks dung beetle-ish. Maybe you guys at home can help me, but I think small green dung beetle is what we are looking at. It seems right. I just can't see the shovel on the head like they normally get. Either way, it's a beautiful creature. It's an emerald green color, and when the sun was shining on it, it was glistening with this green. It was absolutely beautiful, particularly against that drab, dry background that it's on at the moment. Ladybirds, you're wondering what type of ladybirds do we get here in the Sabi Sands? Well, we get, I think, 3 different species, if I'm not mistaken. There are lots in South Africa, but in the Sabi Sands we have 3 different species. I'm just trying to find them in my book so I can show you which ones we get. Now, of course, they are very similar, and so a lot of the time they just get branded as the same thing, even though they are different. So if we have a look here, we go. So the ladybird that we get, and I wonder if it's maybe the same as what you get, is this particular individual over here. So we do see them. They're not commonly occurring in this area. It's not as common as some of the other sort of similar typed insects that we get, but they do sometimes show themselves. This is the other one that we get, which is a lot more common. I've seen this one a lot more. It doesn't actually have a common name at all, so it's not referred to as a ladybird bug, but it is of the same family and looks very similar. It's just a lot more red on it than the one at the bottom, which is the ladybird bug that we're talking about. But you do get these guys here very seldom, should I say. It's not that often that you'll see them. Anyway, I'm not 100% sure what our little insect is. It's now flown away, so maybe some of you got screenshots and you can help me out and identify it. Right, now I'm going to leave our ellies because they've drifted off into the bush, into the thickets. We're going to try and see if we can pull a little rabbit out the hat with Thandi at some point. And while we do that, I believe Ralph has found something rather stripy to look at.
Yes, Tristan, stripy and a donkey in pajamas. And that's our Birchall's or Plains zebra. It's a lovely stallion here, all on his own. And as such, his behavior is also that of being not as skittish as a group of them. And he's so photogenic. It is fantastic to see that. Just off to the left of him, approaching the waterhole, is a waterbuck as well. That's a nice bull waterbuck, starting to get that lovely curvature in his horns. And it looks like he might be coming down for a drink, as I would do too if I was an animal in this heat. Oh, decided against it. Oh, he doesn't like that spot. He's going to look for a better spot to come down. Now, it's a lovely reflection of him as he goes past. There's little to no wind, and just in front of us the zebra has started to graze a little bit. And there we go. A lovely nice back end of a zebra, and remembering that we do get different zebra in South Africa. I know we get a couple of different ones up in the Mara as well. I know of the Grevi zebra and the Birchall zebra up there too, the Plains zebra. We get the Cape Mountain zebra, and up into Namibia you have the Hartmann's mountain zebra, but their stomachs are white and they have a dewlap, and they don't have that lovely shadow stripe that you're seeing there on the rump of this, well, the rump going down the legs and up the torso of this Birchall zebra. Julia asking a very pertinent question. Do the stallions usually stay on their own or not with the herd? Now, that it can happen, especially with the younger males that haven't established themselves a harem. Generally, the males will move with the herd. The youngsters, they'll stay with mommy's herd that has been established by a stallion, and then once he comes of age, that stallion will chase him off, and then he can wander around on his own for a little while until he can challenge for a harem himself, Now, they're not territorial, but they do protect a group of females. At present, maybe he's enjoying the alone time. Hasn't got himself a group of ladies just yet, so he's still in that movable mode. And Waterbuck also making his way towards the zebra. And he's also having a quiet feed. Beautiful animals those are, as we saw the females a bit earlier. Kathy in Ohio asking what antelope have curled horns, I believe. I think the question was. Well, we have quite a few different of the antelope, and as they curl, yes, we do start to be able to tell the age. Now, with the waterbuck, once they get a full curl, it's normally at about 50 months. So if you can do the maths on that, with kudu, also with the curls in a kudu's horns, you start to get the third curl at about 18 months. Their horns start curling a lot earlier in comparison to the waterbuck. Sorry, I just keep looking a little bit away from the camera because there's a great go-away bird which is alarm calling just off to our right. But so a lot of the antelope, you can tell their age from the curvature in their horns. As with the springbok, there's also curl. And a lovely story that I do have about the antelope and how they got the shapes of their horns. Well, initially, all the animals used to feed out on the plains, and it was the lions and the predators were with them as well. And none of them had horns, and the lions also ate grass too. Now, one day, the lions, one lion in particular, he got a taste for meat. He tried to eat a little impala, and he loved the taste so much that he started to aggressively chase all sorts of antelope, and he told all of his friends, and so all the lions started to get a very nice taste for meat. Now, the antelope had no way of defending themselves, so they were a little bit perturbed by this whole thing with the lions starting to eat all of them, as we see some warthogs there that have just been in the water. So the antelope were very perturbed about them being eaten by all these lions, so they went to the wise owl and they said to the wise owl, we need a way of being able to defend ourselves. So the wise owl said to them, you all need to go down to the waterhole on the full moon, as we're having this evening, the super moon. You need to go down to the waterhole, and you need to go in the waterhole, and during the night you will grow some horns that you will be able to defend yourselves with against the lions. But you must stay in the waterhole until the full sun of the next day returns, because at such time your horns will set, and they'll be lovely and straight and spiky, and they'll be able to help you defend yourself as a weapon against the lions. So the antelope listened to the wise owl, and all of them went down to the waterhole, and they lay in the waterhole, and they started to grow their horns. Now, there were some different reactions to them growing their horns. So a few of them got very excited, and as the sun came up and they started to see their horns, they started to run out in excitement with this new addition to their body and such wonderful things on their heads that they could now use to defend themselves. But they weren't listening to the wise owl. And the first one was the red hartebeest, and he went straight underneath a tree, and that's why his horns curl out a little bit and they go straight back. And the second one was that of a kudu. He also got very happy and ran out and got caught in a whirlwind, and that's why his horns curl up like that. And the one that was staying there for a good amount of time was the buffalo, but he climbed out just heading towards midday, almost there, but he then went and lay in the sun outside of the waterhole, and his horns melted in the sun, and that's why they look like that. And the only one that stayed and did as the wise owl had told him was the gemsbok, or the oryx, and that's why his horns are dead straight and perfect weapons against lions. But all the other animals were so jealous of him that they banished him to the desert. So that's the story of how the antelope got their horn shape. Right, now we're going to continue on a little bit. These animals have moved off. We're going to head towards Biffel's Hook, and we're going to see if we might get a sneaky little look in on a predator. Okay, and as we go on our road towards Biffel's Hook, let's go over to Tristan, who's got a rainbird for you.
I did have a bird, but I'm not sure where it's gone now. I think it's still in there. There was a Levalence cuckoo that was bouncing around, but I think it has flown out the back, unfortunately, and disappeared on us, which is not ideal. Now, the bird that we're talking about, these Levalence cuckoos, I haven't seen too many of them before I went on leave, but they should be arriving in quite high numbers and should be quite a few of them here, and they're quite easy to identify in comparison to some of the other cuckoos. So this is it here on the top right, this individual over here. So you can see they've got this big crest, quite a long black tail, bit of barring under the tail, some white on the wing, and then they've got this barred throat area, and down towards the rump they have more barring there. The only other bird that you'd probably confuse this with out here would be the Jacobin cuckoo, which is this individual just slightly down. You can see it looks quite similar, but the Jacobin doesn't have any of those black markings on the throat or on the rump section, and the white on the wing is slightly different to that on the Levalence as well, but the barring on the chest and rump area is the easiest way. Now, what we do have quite a few of at the moment, which I'm hoping to find fairly soon, is these guys over here, which is a dark morph Jacobin cuckoo. So they're very, very cool to see. You can see this one has got the white chest, but if you look at this bird, it is black all the way through. So they're a jet black color. They're very beautiful, and we've got a number of them around, particularly around Chelapan. There's a pair there that I've seen that are both dark morphs, which are quite nice to see, and so I'll try and find them over the next few weeks, hopefully. Right, and we're going to carry on along Drakensberg Road. There is tracks apparently. Herbie's out and about trying to give us a hand with Tundi. He says there's tracks going north and south in the block just to my left hand side at the moment, and he says that tracks are from this morning, so not fresh from this afternoon, but moving in those general areas, and so hopefully she's going to make an appearance somewhere here. So we're just driving on the fringes, just trying to help him out and seeing if maybe we get lucky and we get to spot a animal at some point. Well, not an animal, but Tundi at some point in this particular section. So Julia, you're wondering if the guides will help any of the animals if they're injured. Well, here at Djuma, no, if the injury is something that is caused naturally. So if we come across, let's say, something like even this squirrel, and this squirrel is limping along and bouncing and it can't quite run the same way as the other squirrels do, and it doesn't climb as well, and it's got an injury from, let's say, a hawk or a eagle that has attacked it and hurt it and maimed its one leg, then no, we won't be helping that individual. Ultimately, that's nature's way, and it kind of removes that black and that grey area, and it makes everything quite black and white. And so what we'll do is we'll treat animals that have any injury that's caused by people. So if there was, let's say on the squirrel, there was a little wire around its leg, or somebody had, for some odd reason, hurt this squirrel in some way, then yes, we would treat it. But if it's caused by nature, then no, the animals are left to, unfortunately, either come right, which a lot of them do. So a lot of these animals out here are highly resilient to injuries. If you look at the Nkahuma female, for example, Shadow, Tundi, all of them have showed in the last sort of few months there's been injuries, and the Nkahuma female, slowly but surely, her hip is healing and that tissue is coming together. She'll always have a scar, but she's fine. I'm sure a lot of people, when they first saw that Nkahuma female, that big gash in her hip, they all thought that she was probably going to be dead, and I know I got a lot of requests for us to get a vet out and help her, but it just goes to show we've left her alone and she's absolutely fine. She will get better. Shadow's limp has gotten better. Tundi is no longer limping. So these animals are very resilient. Unfortunately, though, there will be some that will unfortunately pass away from natural injuries, but that's the circle of the way things work out here. And at the end of the day, it's nature's way of getting rid of certain bloodlines that maybe weren't strong enough, and it's also a survival of the fittest, and they form nutrient base for a number of other animals, and so that's why we try not to interfere as much. It's also because if you have the situation where you do treat animals, generally animals that have emotive responses for humans get to be treated and others don't. So you'll find a lot of the time people will be like, oh, please fix that lion or please fix that leopard, but at the same time you'll see an injured impala trotting along and no one will really make too much of a scene out of that. So if you apply this rule, it means that all animals are kind of seen as equals, and it means that you're treating both, herbivores and predators equally, and that there's no situation where we're applying emotions to the whole concept. It's a difficult thing to do and difficult to kind of get around, but it is part of the process. Oh, Joy, you're asking about hypotheticals and whether or not if Hosana was injured by Tingana, would we just let it go? Well, unfortunately, yes, we would have to. It's the same as the Shongile Tandi situation. Even though Tandi was attacking Shongile and we know that she was there and we know that there was a situation where these two leopards got into a fight, there's nothing we can really do about it. That is part of the way nature works out here. It would be very sad and it would be very hard to watch and very hard to go through, but it doesn't mean that we need to get involved, because ultimately this is how animals establish themselves. You never know. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe Hosana injures Tingana at a later stage. You don't know how it's going to play out, and so it's hard to apply a sort of blanket of no emotion to these kind of things, because there is always emotion in it. But it's unfortunately the way nature works, and if we are here and we want to document and want to witness what goes on in nature as best we can without interfering, then doing things like that and treating Hosana or trying to stop Tingana from attacking him, those kind of things are not the way that we should be doing things, and it is highly unethical for us as guides to do that, because like I say, where do we draw the line? Then why don't we stop lions from hunting wildebeest or Hosana playing around with a baby impala that he might catch or something like that? It's at the end of the day a very similar situation. It's just that we have far more invested emotions in something like Hosana than we do in a impala lamb. So we try and just make it kind of fair for everybody. It would be, like I say, very hard, and it would be not easy to watch or to even witness or to try and kind of cope with, but that's the way it goes. That's another squirrel, or is that a slender? No, it's a squirrel. Another squirrel has just popped out in front of us, and at the moment there's quite a few slender mongoose around, and sometimes when you just see that bounding motion into the road, you kind of think to yourself, well, maybe it is one of them, but it's just a little squirrel bounding along. And it seems as though these two squirrels in this area that we've seen are fairly chill. They're not too worried about us at all. We don't often get long periods with squirrels on camera unless they're alarm calling at something, but both of these guys have been absolutely wonderful to us, and we've been able to spend a bit of time, which is quite nice, and allow us to chat about all things in terms of fixing and helping animals. Right, Ferg, you reckon we're going to find Tandi? I think so. I think we're going to see her in the next 10 minutes. That's what I think. I hope, anyway. It's the idea. Maybe we get it right, but you can see Ferg. Let me stop there, Ferg, so that you can actually frame up nicely. There's the most beautiful sunset that is starting to show itself, and we're getting amazing coloration. We're going to find a situation with these dead trees and the sun behind it. As it starts to go down, those clouds are going to take on more and more color, and eventually we're going to get these bright oranges and reds all over the sky, with a little bit of the blues that are going to come through where the sky is parted a little bit. But it is a wonderful way to finish your day, when you can sit and gaze upon that and listen to the Cape turtle dove that's calling in the background, or ringneck dove. There's some babblers on my left, so it's a beautiful way to end the day, that's for sure. And to end the weekend. Is it the end of the weekend? Today is Sunday, isn't it? Yes, it is. The end of the weekend for us. So, nice sunset for our Sunday. I'm not sure how long that sun's actually going to last. I see there's almost like a bank of cloud just below it that might obscure our sunset, but we'll hope for it, and I'm sure a little bit later it will be absolutely beautiful when it comes to actually seeing the sun setting and the colors and clouds later in the day. Right, well, we're going to try and pull the rabbit out of the hat that I was talking about earlier and try and find Tandi in the next 10 minutes or so, like I was just saying to Ferg. And while we do that, I believe Ralph is bumbling about, and hopefully he'll have a bit of luck of his own.
Yes, folks, rabbits and pulling them out of hats, that's what we're all trying to do at the moment. There's not really that much in terms of cat movement, but we never know, we might spot something on our last little piece of drive here. Now, while we're just moving along here, please don't forget to send us your photos from around the world of the supermoon this evening. It is going to be one of the brightest moons that you will have seen this year, with the moon coming in at about 222,000 miles away from us on the closest portion of its orbit around the Earth and coinciding with the full moon. So please, it's going to be a beautiful super moon, and wherever you are, if you've got a lovely clear evening or you've got a nice view of the moon, please take your photos and send it through to us on the hashtag Safari Live. We'd love to see what your perspective of the moon will be this evening, on which part of the world. It will be fantastic. We might be doing a little bit of a drive this evening, just between friends, between the staff. We also want to enjoy the scenery of the moon. We do like to get out of camp a little bit. Kathy in Ohio asking if shadow has been seen recently with all these leopards around. I don't believe shadow has been seen any time recently. I haven't heard of any of the guides having spotted her. It was more the males that have been spotted. There was Kuchava that was spotted this morning by Scott. I think, was it yesterday afternoon? It was yesterday afternoon. And then we do have a possibility of having found the den site of Tandi, but it's not confirmed yet, and we're just waiting to see if we pick up on a sighting there, and then we can confirm with everybody. But yes, folks, I've just spotted a little bit of somebody there in front of us. So I'm just spinning around, and there is another road that I'd like to take just around the corner here. So no problems. That was Central Road, and I think it was the wrong road that I was going down. So I do want to go a little bit towards the western side as we start to make our way back to camp. And we are looking for these elusive leopards that are in the area. And I'm getting a feeling that coming through these silver cluster leaves up front and heading down towards a little bit of a drainage line, maybe we'll get lucky. But all the same, we do have a lovely bit of color coming through with the sun heading towards sunset and a little bit of clouds around. So it is absolutely stunning at the moment. But we would like just to find one of our little kitty cats, which would really make this a great end to the drive. As the crested Franklin are singing off in perfect tandem. It's like a squeaky bed. Chitcher, 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 chitcher. Julia asking the question, how many birds can I identify without using a field guide? Well, Julia, I must say that I am way better with the calls of birds. Now, I'm not one of the birders that do count how many birds they have seen. Ooh, speaking of birds, there was a lovely lilac-breasted roller, and I don't know if VM is able to get in there. Just try and get those branches out the way. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, VM. Oh, I just wanted to get in perfectly in there. There's a little bit of leaves in front, sorry. So, yes, I'm not 100% sure on how many I can identify, but I am not a specialist on any particular area. I have moved around a lot through different biomes, from savanna to the forest areas down the coast to the thicket areas, but I use mostly the calls to identify the birds. So there's a lot of birds, especially like the little brown jobs, that are difficult to tell between each other by sight, like cisticulars, for instance. I really do not know the difference from sight, but only from the calls, which I find a lot different, which then makes it a lot easier. But I would have to say that I could probably tell you by sight and sound in the region of about 500 birds, and that's off the top of my head, because I have trained students for many years in the art of identifying birds and their calls, etc. So I have built up quite a big base of knowledge around birds, but as I say, I'm not a specialist in any area. I'm more of a generalist in all the different areas, from Namibia to South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe. I can identify a lot of birds in all these different regions. So as I say, I'm not, in this particular area, I do want to start becoming a specialist in Djuma, and if I move over to the Masai Mara, I would also like to be able to do as many birds in those areas. So that's how I do it. Each area I go to, I try to learn as many new birds as possible, and it's always exciting like that, because you're not seeing the same birds or hearing the same birds. But I have spent a lot of time in this region, not on the Sabi Sands per se, in the Djuma area, and it's slightly different to where I was on Salati and Karongwe and in the northern parts of the Kruger National Park. Slightly different habitat, slightly different soils, and slightly different birds. But the general base of the birds remains the same, like the black-headed orioles and the rollers and all the resident birds. It's more so the migratory birds and the locally resident birds that can be slightly different in the different particular areas. So that's why, like yesterday I spotted my first grey hooded kingfisher, which in this area is quite common, but I've never seen one in my life. But in this particular area, now there was a cuckoo that just flew in here, and I do think it was a Levalence cuckoo. I don't know if VM saw where it went. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, that's sometimes as fleeting as it may be. So we're just watching a lovely color in the sun coming through, and I think Tristan is in a similar area to where we are, and he might have something also similar in terms of the landscape. So let's cross over to him and see what he's got for you.
We do indeed. I would imagine it would be very similar, because we're on opposite sides from one another. Ralph is just to the south of me and I'm on the northern side of this drainage line, so you can just flip everything the other way around, and that's how it would be. Now here comes our favorite friend Herbie. Hello Herbie. Say hello to everyone. So there's Herbie, and that's all of our trackers that are helping us out. Okay, sharp. Thanks buddy. Will you let Ralph know? Sure, thanks. Cool, cheers guys. So those guys are helping us out with our endeavors over the next few weeks, because ultimately we're trying to find as many things as we can for our TV show coming up, and so we've got 3 trackers on the ground that will be out during the days to try and help us find everything, in particular Tundi and the cubs. So that's why it'll be nice for them just to give us a hand, so they're just helping out. But Ali, you're wondering if I'll be on Big Cat Week? Yes, I will be. I will be based here at Djuma, obviously, and I will be on a vehicle with Noel will be on the other vehicle, and I think Scott and Steph in walk mode, and James presenting from a new location, which will be quite nice. So that's going to be happening for the Big Cat Week, and then Taylor and Brent and Jamie up in the Mara as well. Now, I believe Herbie, sorry, I was a little bit distracted there, because Herbie was just telling me that he's following up on alarm calls and audio for a leopard, apparently somewhere near Gallagher Pan. So if Ralph's anywhere in that area, I know he's not that close, but maybe he can rush into that section while we're sitting here. Herbie has checked this area extensively. He says there's no sign of any leopard activity at the waterhole. He said that there was a hyena here a little bit earlier, and we just saw its tracks going past, so it doesn't see like she's actually around. Now I believe her den is in a spot where Karula has once used a den before, so I'm going to just go a little bit further forward and just check one more time in this particular section. Now if this is where she is denning, maybe, just maybe, she's here. Ultimately earlier this afternoon when I came past, there was a lot of nyala in this area. All of them seemed very relaxed, very chilled, and not like they were too interested in anything. So I'm just going to have a little quick sneaky scratch around and maybe I get lucky and see her somewhere in this general vicinity. But theoretically the den site should be off to my left hand side down in this little drainage section, but I've come a little bit far to actually access it. But that's what we're dealing with, is it's dark, it's dingy, it's very difficult to get into, and maybe, just maybe, she's somewhere inside there. Right, now I will have one last little ditch effort and see if I can find anything, and while I do that, let's go back across to Ralph and see where he plans to go and if he's racing off to those alarm calls.
Hi there folks, those alarm calls that are being heard are a little bit over towards Gallagher Pan, and it's a little bit far off for us to be able to get there in time before the end of the show. So I'm not going to be racing for that. We're going to see in the next minute or two if we're going to spot anything, a leopard or anything along this road. But otherwise, once we get right towards the end of the show, we maybe just take a nice little scenic stop and just end with that, because we can't always get the predators, get the big cats. I think today we've had a lovely day with the elephants and with hippos, so animals of big animals, but different to that of the predators. So I've had a thoroughly enjoyable drive. I don't know about you, a little bit of looking for leopards in the end, which we haven't been lucky with, but that's the way it goes, eh? Hampus asking the question, did I know or do I know anybody in the Safari Live crew before I joined? No, I don't. I know of people, but I had never met anybody in the crew. So I'm still getting to know everybody in the tech team, in the guiding team, everybody in the FC, behind the scenes, and it's been a fantastic journey for me over the last 2 weeks or so, and I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. So I hope you folks are enjoying my presenting. I am trying my best to bring you the best pictures, and I'm starting to relax a little bit around talking to a camera. I'm just going to take a little bit of a viewpoint here. It's just very iconic with these dead trees in front of us, and those colors are coming through now that it is very beautiful. So I thought it was definitely worth a little stop here, and if anybody wants to take some still shots off of that, it is quite amazing. So it's been doing this almost every day now, where we're building a little bit towards thunderstorms, and the clouds a little bit of a cirrus. It's not looking like it's building for storms this afternoon, but at least it did cool things off a little bit, giving us a slight little bit of cloud cover as that was coming through. So folks, it's quite quiet. We haven't been able to hear any alarm calling, so I'm just going to reposition. We just move off a little bit down the road. Who knows, we might just get lucky. You know how things can happen. I saw the other night with Tristan, as he was busy closing, he spotted a leopard. So you never know your luck. Maybe we'll spot a caracal or a serval. That would be nice, wouldn't it? You never know what you might get. That's the beauty of working in the bush and in the wild areas. We never know what might show himself. I'm hoping for a honey badger. Alright, so we're just heading down a little bit through the drainage line here, as we have our last little chance of a sneaky shot of one of these predators. Let's just pop through. Looking up and down drainage lines, always one of the best places to have a look. So I'm just going to pop through on the other side of this drainage line. See, maybe we have another nice view of that sun. So folks, we are starting to head towards the end of the show. It's been a lovely day. We've got a nice little view coming up here if you want to have a look at that. And there we go. That's not a bad little shot, that. over to our right. Still, as the blues and the pinks start to change color, we have just come along the central road, just so that everybody knows where we are. And we came along Central Road. All right, folks. I've just got news that we are going to extend because there has been a leopard spotted at Djuma Dam. So I'm going to start making my way there, and if we are very lucky, he'll still be there when we get there, because we're not that far off now, and we're coming along towards Chelapan. I'm just going to let them know in the FC that I'm on my way. Sorry for the bumps. Okay, folks, so we are going to just get going a little bit. So please excuse me for the speed. We will be looking out for little animals along the way. I don't want to bump anything, and I do want to keep Viam in the vehicle, because he needs to be able to spot the leopard once we get there. So let's hurry and get on over there. We're hot-footing it to Djuma Dam, and we like to just close off on this very special evening with the super moon and a leopard. Okay, folks, we're off to see the leopard. I'm not sure who it is. I don't know if it's a male or female. I've heard a lot of banter going on the radio. I will have to just check in a minute if I can make my way in there. I don't want to bring too many vehicles to one sighting, but we are going to head on over. I'll just make sure there are people talking, so I'm just waiting for them to finish. I'll ask them if I can make it in. So, just trying to work out what is exactly the site. Okay, folks, we might be going through a little bit of a bad signal dip here, so please just stay with us. It will come back. There we go. I think it should be a little bit better now, but if it does come and go, please just stay with us. We're on the way to the leopard, and it will be good signal area. Ralph standing by. I'm just next to Chelapan. I'm just coming past Chelapan on my way to you guys. Is that alright? Copy that to the southern side of Vuyatela. Okay, I'm on my way. Okay, folks, that's us. We're in. We're going to be able to see it. I'm just checking my map again just to make sure that we come from the right side. Knobthorn. Twin Dams Road. I don't know Knobthorn. We're coming up Twin Dams. Okay, but it's fine. We're going to be... Okay. Right, folks, so we've got our spot booked in on that sighting there. Everybody knows that we're on our way, so hot-footed. Not too far. We're going to come up to Philemon's dip, and we go through that. Okay, now Philemon's dip a little bit to our west. We're going to be coming through from the eastern side. And the dam cam I hear is down now, so that's why nobody's getting any visuals there. So hopefully we'll be able to fill you in there. I'm just hoping that he's not getting mobile and they don't lose sight of him, but there are people, and now I'm saying him, I don't know if it's a male or female. So just hang on, folks, not going to be long, a minute or two and we will be there. It'll be well worth the anticipation. We're coming up towards Vuyatela Dam now. So should be seeing this leopard shortly. Okay, folks, let the excitement build. Sherry asking the question, and I'm sure it's because I've been driving so fast. Have I ever lost a cameraman off the back of the Jeep? Now, the answer to that is not yet, but I don't plan to start today. So let's keep VM on board. Mvubu Road. Now, I'm not seeing these leopard or these guys. Okay. Okay, I think he's just moved a little bit off of the dam here, and we've got some elephants in front of us. So this leopard is on the move, but they do still have him. He's heading on Mvubu Road. So he's not far from here, he's just obviously walking a bit. And we've got these elephants, so we do need to be a little bit careful. Those elephants have moved off there. Okay, so we're all right. Sorry once again for the bumping, folks. Okay, we should be getting very close now. Just in the time that it's taken us to get from when I heard about this leopard till now, he's walked up the road a little bit. So all right, I can hear that people are already starting to roll out the bets and ask which for their favorite one. It seems Ben and Tesla, you want Hosana, or I think the other one was Shadow. I might have got that wrong, but Tingana. Tingana, yes. Sorry, as I'm racing along here and there's so much banter going on the radio about this leopard, I'm not really hearing everything as clearly as I should. Now I'm starting to see some vehicles here up front, so this is where the action probably is, and this is our friend Herbert. He's our tracker, so let's just quickly find out from him. Okay, thank you, sir. That's Herbert saying they're not far, so we'll just be catching up this leopard shortly. I'm sorry for the length of time it's taken, but as I've said before, these are wild animals and we can't make them stand on parade. So we just need to be a little bit patient now, folks, because we're getting up to where this animal is. Now, I do believe he was up in Vubu. And there I see some vehicles moving through the thick stuff. I did spot the tracks that had gone in here. It seems, did any of them go in there? It seems here is, eh? There's the tracks. There we go. Okay, Liam's got a bit of a higher vantage point than I do. We do need to drive over some small little trees here. They are broken down already by the elephants. Okay, so we start to move in through this thick stuff. Let's see if we can catch up. There's two vehicles in front of us, so we're getting a little bit closer. Also do need to just be careful of our aerial at the back as we drive through the bushes. So sorry for these branches that are coming through now. I will be catching this one and trying to keep those sticks out of the way of the camera. Nearly bumped me there, sorry VM. There we go, folks. It's coming through. Everything's still fine. We're all in one piece. And here we go. Okay, it's opening up a little bit for us. Right, who can it be? Who can it be, folks? Hosana, Tingana. Maybe it's Shadow. I have a feeling it might be Tundi. That would put everybody out. Let's see. Let's just have a look here. I'm going to see if I can come through here. Just trying to get a sneaky peek. Thank you, huh? James Richard saying forget last minute leopard. This is an overtime leopard. Right, folks, there he is. Still don't know who it is, but there he is. Now I'm going to just have to try and get through here. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if VM can get a nice view there. VM, is this going to work coming through here? There we go. I'm going to just go through slowly. Okay, sorry about that. Oopsie. Okay. Right, now we've got a clear view on him. Right, folks, start sending in. Who do you think it is? Okay, and I'm just going to stop here for a second. Okay, Ben, you saying you'd be very happy to see Tingana. Well, let's just try and see. Is it that lovely dewlap? It looks like it might be Tingana, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I need to spend a little bit of time with him and slowly watching and checking his facial patterns. It does look like Tingana, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll move through here a bit. Folks, we do want to try and stay with him just to see what he does. There he is on the move, but we've got a small little view on him. And we are with some guests, and they did allow us to come in onto the sighting, but now we are letting them take the lead again, because we are just viewers as well, but everybody getting their fill. And look at that moon. Amazing nature. Thank you for your comments. This is absolutely amazing. Look at that. He's walking underneath the moon in the background, and that disappears behind the bushes, but it is absolutely fascinating. Jason guessing that it's Tingana. Jason, your guess is as good as mine. It does look like him, of what I've seen him in. I think I've seen him 2 or 3 times now. Okay, I'm going to switch off here. Folks, it is now right towards the end of our show. We are watching him. Maybe we'll watch him walk towards the moon there. Thank you, folks. It seems the confirmation has come through that it's Tingana. It's lovely that folks are on the ball. It's difficult for me to drive and to try and see small little characteristics, especially when he's on the move like that. But you have the luxury of being able to look at your screens and maybe freeze frame it and then check those little characteristics now. And I'm sure some of you don't even need to do that. Maybe you're just looking at the way that he walks, or something special on his tail, whatever it might be, whatever you might use in the way of identifying him. I'm just going to try and keep with him a little bit here. He's still on the move, and it's nice and clear for us that we are still able to follow him. Sorry, VM, if I'm cutting backwards and forwards. It looks like he's going to start marking. Right, I'm just going to try and get a nice little clear view of him here. It does seem to, sorry for that bump. There we go. Okay, we might see him walk off under the moon here. Look at that, folks. There's the super moon. What a start to the evening. Right, folks. So as we watch the last little bit of Tingana here, and we see the moon rising, the super moon, folks, I would just like to say a very big thank you to all the team in the Mara. Thank you to the FC, thank you to the tech team, thank you most of all to the viewers. And folks, please join us again tomorrow for another day when we can do it all over again. Thank you, God bless, good night, goodbye.